Sounds good.
Hey everyone, I am Scott with the Central Florida ASTA chapter. Thanks for joining our webinar today. We have Erin from Sanderson Yachting. Who's going to talk all about luxury yachting around the world and how we can help our clients experience this. As we go, feel free to jump into the chat, add your questions there. We're happy to answer them live, but if you're watching the recording, I'll have Erin's email in the YouTube description, so you can always reach out to her directly. But otherwise, I won't take up much more time. Erin, take it away
Sorry, I had
if
to
you're ready.
close the office door there. Hey everyone. Great to see everyone here and may have met some of you at the ASTA Roadshow, maybe not. Whoops. Of course. Sorry, I totally just messed up my screen. Let
Yeah,
me
we're now seeing your desktop background. It's pretty,
I
but
was
not
trying to see
what.
everyone's faces was the challenge there. Yeah, let's do it again. All right.
Warnings from Canva.
Okay, here we go for real now. I guess I can't see everyone's faces, but anyways, I'm here. And yeah, like he said, if you want to pop anything into the chat, happy to answer questions along the way. I'll also, of course, open up for Q&A at the end. So today, we are going to set sail into the journey, or journey into the world of luxury yacht charters. And this is a world that, promises the below deck experience for your clients and hopefully untapped revenue streams for your business. And I'm really just here to guide you through it and break down all the misconceptions and everything and give you all the information you need to know to confidently book yacht charters for your clients. And so by the end of this session, my goal is for you to feel, like as confident as a captain to navigate this market. Just a little bit about who we are and who I am. So Sanderson Yachting was founded in 2006. We are accredited yacht brokers, so we're accredited by the Mediterranean and Caribbean Yacht Broker Association, which in our world is like being virtuoso certified or like a Michelin star restaurant. It's the gold star in the industry. And so, as an accredited broker, that gives us access to the 5,000 yachts available worldwide for private charter. And so, you're never going to miss out on anything available for charter by working with me because we've got access to everything. And so we're talking about everything from a sleek catamaran, maybe at 20,000 a week, all the way up to a jaw-dropping super yacht for over 3 million a week and everything in between. So there's really something for every level of luxury out there and every client. Just a little bit about me. So, I've been to more than 45 boat shows globally. So prior to even getting involved with Sanderson Yachting, had been to, every major yacht charter show 3 times. We've booked thousands of yacht charters here. And the real difference with Sanderson Yachting is that we've spent years building relationships with crews, captains, fleet managers. So we know which yachts are worth recommending and which ones to avoid because they don't all look as pretty in person or smell as good in person as they look on paper. And it's really that insider knowledge that makes a big difference. But in short, yacht charters are definitely easier to book than you probably think. They're more affordable than most people realize, and they're fully commissionable. And so my motto is simple. If it floats, I can book it. And if, after today, I want you to be able to confidently tell your clients you can do the same. I can't see a raise of hands because I can't see anyone's faces, but maybe people can just kind of drop in the chat. How has anybody on the call booked a yacht charter before?
I wish.
Okay. I don't know if I can even see their messages. It's a weird setup on here. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to assume probably people haven't. If you're on this webinar, maybe are curious about doing it. So, I've been hearing a lot of luxury advisors saying that, going small is the new big thing. And clients are craving more of these exclusive experiences, right? And more wanting more privacy. So, another thing I've heard a lot of advisors say is that, in terms of missing out on it, it's all kind of the same theme, right? So, their clients either booked elsewhere and came to them to book flights because they didn't know they could book a yacht charter. I had another advisor tell me her clients didn't even realize that she could book yacht charter, so they didn't even think about her, but they told her about the vacation and how great it was. And I've had other advisors that are getting inquiries and they just don't know where to turn. And so the client winds up booking somewhere else. And today I want to change that because every one of those bookings can be yours. So this is just kind of an overview of what we're going to go through today. So I'm going to start with some misconceptions. We'll go through some of the destinations, different types of yachts, how pricing works, the process for booking. We'll open up for Q&A, and then of course I'll share my contact info. A lot of people wind up asking me if I'm going to share my slide deck at the end. I don't actually share the slide deck itself, but I have a one-pager. Well, it's more like a 4-page PDF that has an overview of everything we went over today. So happy to share that. So, misconception number one, private yachts are only for billionaires. A lot of travel advisors don't realize that you probably already have the clientele. How many of you have a client that already spends, $4,000 to $6,000 per person on a luxury resort, a high-end cruise, an exclusive villa, or something of that nature? Because those are all potential yacht charter clients. You can get your clients on a yacht charter, an all-inclusive catamaran, for example, in the Virgin Islands for as low as $25,000 a week. That is pretty affordable when we really think about what our clients are spending on other trips. And what I've also found in working with advisors like you is that, clients are not asking you for private yachts because they think it's out of reach. But really, when you explain the pricing to the right group, it really does become an affordable, customized luxury vacation. Some of the ideal profiles, and you probably already know this because you're travel advisors, but milestone celebrations, multi-generational family travel, any of your luxury villa clients, corporate retreats, and any ultra high net worth clients that are, flying private jets or anything like that. Those are all potential yacht charter clients. Misconception number two is that it's too complicated. And that's literally why I'm here and why I do these education sessions. I wind up acting as an extension of your team to make sure your client has a seamless experience. And the process is really simple. You've got the client, I handle the details, you keep the relationship and, with the client throughout the process, and then you collect a commission at the end. And it really is that simple. And this is the actual booking process. So you provide us with your client dates, the destination, the number of guests, and the budget. I then go back to you with a couple options, maybe 8 to 10 options for your client so that it's not overwhelming. Your client then picks a yacht and dates. We place and there may be some back and forth. It's not always this straightforward, but then we place a free temporary hold on the yacht for you. That hold can be good for 72 hours. That just gives you time to kind of sort their travel logistics in terms of flights. We get the contract signed, and then the boat is secured with a 50% deposit. From there, the other 50% is due 60 days before the charter, and then we send out the preference sheets. And the preference sheets capture everything from your client's favorite flavors to drinks to how much interaction they want to have with the crew, any excursions or anything else they're interested in. And that gets shared with the crew so that the chef can put together a custom menu for them, and then the captain can put together a custom itinerary. From there, about 2 weeks before the charter, we're going to do a pre-charter call with the crew, with you, and with the client. And that's just to kind of go over everything, flag anything important on the preference sheets. Are we celebrating something? Things like that. So what makes a great charter destination? I've had very recently, actually, because of everything going on overseas, a lot of travel advisors telling me, well, my client was supposed to go to the Middle East for spring break or for the summer, but now that's canceled or now they're not comfortable. And, they're thinking about yacht charters. Well, where can we send them? So what makes a great yacht charter destination? And the answer is really simple. It's any place where the islands are really close together and you can do island hopping and it's not easy to do by car. So naturally, the 4 destinations here on the left-hand side are going to shine. These are the top 4 charter destinations in the world. It's where we get the most inquiries. It's where there's pretty much the most inventory, and the easiest to kind of island hop around. I would say followed by these 4, and then it kind of gets smaller, but still pretty popular. But just in terms of volume, what makes Italy and France great? And again, we've got the Amalfi Coast of Italy, which isn't really island hopping, and we've got the south of France, which again isn't really island hopping. But where these 2 areas really shine is in the Sardinia, Corsica area in the middle of the ocean, because they can start in Italy and do a few days there and then pop over to France and do a few days there and get a really nice combination of both influences. Has anyone, well, I don't know that people have booked yacht charters on this call, but if anybody's booked the moorings, I always like to go over this slide because, just to kind of help people understand the difference between moorings and a crewed yacht charter. So moorings is great for what they are. They started off as a bareboat company where you had to, either be a captain or hire a captain and a chef. And to this day now they have a little bit of a crewed program, but they use freelance crew. So these people are not permanent crew on the yacht, and it does make a difference. The other thing is your client is never going to know what exact yacht they're on until a few weeks before the charter. Whereas with a crewed yacht, when your client falls for a crew and a yacht, they're actually going to get that exact yacht and probably that same crew unless they're booking really far out. There's always a chance it could change. But pretty much, permanent crew. And then with the moorings, they only carry one brand of boat. So if your client is 6 people, there's one option for them. If they're 8 people, there's one option for them. And they have limited water toys. So it's really what I like to think of as a kind of a 3-star experience at best. Whereas a crewed yacht charter, we're starting around 25,000 a week. It's a much more luxurious experience. You have a culinary trained chef. You've got a private captain that's on that yacht kind of year round for the season. Just a higher level of luxury, many, many different options, all different brands and sizes and layouts. So a lot more to choose from. Speaking of yacht types, so there's 6 different types of yachts. I'm going to kind of high level go over each of them. It can be definitely overwhelming. When most people think of below deck in a yacht charter, they're thinking about a motor yacht, but there's actually many different types of yachts, and they are all great for their own reasons. First, I want to talk about how many guests you can actually have on a yacht. So, there are so many times where people reach out, they're like, I've got a group of 16 and they want to go to the Virgin Islands. And it's like, okay, we have to halt for a second because you're only allowed to actually have 12 guests on board. And that's not what I have access to rule. That's a maritime law. So maritime law says you can't have more than 12 guests on board. There are a few exceptions to that law, pretty much everywhere in the world, but very few and far between in terms of that, and definitely not in the BVI. So just to give you an idea of what you can get on at each price point. So for catamarans, they can start around 25,000 and go all the way up over 100,000 per week. They're a great option. And then, motor yachts, you can get on a smaller, older power yacht around 50 to 75K, a much nicer one. And this is kind of where the majority of people that are going on super yachts are falling between this 100 and 350K. And then, well, if you've got these clients for the 500,000 and above, then you're in really good shape. So let's talk a little bit about motor yachts. So power yachts are going to be what you see on below deck. They're definitely going to be the most luxurious. They're going to have the most space. So naturally the most water toys, the higher end water toys, the jet skis, the tenders, the chase boats, the sea bobs, the e-foils, the electric surfboards. The speed is going to be higher than that of a catamaran in most cases. Can you get a client? If you have a client, they're like, oh, I really want to go on a motor yacht in Greece. Our budget's 40,000. Yeah, we can probably get them on a motor yacht, but again, it's going to be something smaller and older. So it also depends on what's important to them. If they want equal cabin accommodations, this may not be the best option. If everyone wants their own bathrooms at that low price point, this is probably not the best option. Usually what I tell advisors as a rule of thumb is if your client's budget is under 75,000, they're going to get a really nice catamaran or they're going to get a lower end motor yacht. And then it just kind of goes up from there. Then we have catamarans. These are the single most popular vessel, especially for travel advisors, people that are getting into yacht charters, just starting to sell them. They're very affordable in terms of an entry point. And in the British Virgin Islands and the Bahamas, definitely the British Virgin Islands, it's 90% of the inventory there. So there's very few large motor yachts because of the lack of marina space in the British Virgin Islands, but it's also just a really popular kind of layout. And so you've got the sailing catamarans, where you can see the sail here. And then you've got the motor catamarans, the power cats that have no sail, and they just go a little bit faster. So it really just kind of depends on what your client's looking for. But some of the nice things about the catamarans are everyone's can have an equal cabin. Of course, some of them have a master cabin, some of them have twin cabins, but you can also get plenty that have equal rooms with bathrooms and showers and everything else. It's a great entry point between that 25,000 for 6 guests. You've got water toys. Obviously, the bigger the catamaran, the more water toys are on board. But these catamarans can have jacuzzis, jet skis, sea bobs. You've got a ton of outdoor space. And again, everything is going to have a bathroom. Next up are sailboats. So I'm never going to send any of you a sailboat if you inquire with me about a vessel. Really, if somebody wants a sailboat, they're going to tell you they want a monohull or a sailboat. It's for people who like to sail. I personally don't like to work when I'm on vacation, and most people don't, but they know if they want a sailboat and they will tell you. Then there's motor sailors, which are completely different than a sailboat, even though they look very similar. So motor sailors are really common in places like Greece, Croatia, and Turkey. And they're made out of, wood or fiberglass, sometimes steel, but they're really built for versatility. So they're pretty high end on the inside. The sails are more for show. They really operate with a motor, but they're great for groups of 12 or, under, 8 to 12. And they're going to have, again, a ton of water toys, jacuzzis, big spacious rooms. They're usually all over 100 feet. So really, really nice option. Then we have goulettes. So goulettes are also Croatia, Turkey. There's a handful in Greece. This is a wooden boat. They're great for large groups that are on a budget, but this is the kind of boat that's wood inside water. So it's a wooden boat that's floating in the water. So this is the kind of boat that they're going to be cleaning with bleach because you're having wood in water. I don't know how else to say that. So it can be great if your client is on a low budget and they're a large group and you've set the expectation with them that this is a wooden boat. They will have a great time. I've had plenty of clients go on these, but it's definitely not the type of yacht that I would put a luxury client on. And then these are probably my favorite, the mini cruisers. So these mini cruisers are really only found in places like Greece, or sorry, places like Croatia, and there's a few in the Maldives. They can have up to 39 guests on board. Most of them are closer to 30, but they're the only kind of high-end, high occupancy yachts in the industry. So what travel advisors usually do with these and where they make a lot of their money is they'll actually rent them by the cabin. So you'd rent it in your own name as a travel advisor. Maybe a few travel advisors get together, you rent out the boat, and then you sell it by the cabin. And I just had an advisor last year make $160,000. That was her profit on one of these because she just marked it up and was selling the cabins for like 11 or 13,000 per cabin. And she just had the clientele for it. So this is a great thing to do if you've got the clients. So what influences pricing? Why are some yachts 25,000 a week and some $1 million a week, or more? And the easiest way to think about it is the two biggest factors are going to be the yacht size and the yacht age, right? So the bigger the yacht and the newer the yacht, the more expensive. The older and smaller, the less expensive. And then some of the other factors are things like location, the charter season, the VAT tax. So if we look at Italy or France, the tax is 22% on top of the yacht. So on $100,000, that's another $22,000 that the client is paying in tax. If you look at somewhere like Croatia, the tax is 13%. So it's half of that, right? So when we're thinking about things that impact price, VAT is always a factor. The other thing is APA, and APA stands for Advanced Provisioning Allowance. So it's an amount of money that your client pays up front, and it covers provisioning of the yacht for the food, for the alcohol, for fuel, any mooring or docking fees. And the captain keeps track of all of that. So whatever your client doesn't spend, they actually wind up getting back at the end. And then, obviously if they expend it all, then they have a little bit of a balance that they have to pay to settle up. So those are kind of the main factors that are going to influence the pricing. And then what is actually included? So that's another question we get a lot is what's actually included in an all-inclusive and what does it mean to be plus expenses? So on an all-inclusive yacht, and this really only exists in the Caribbean, but an all-inclusive yacht is literally all-inclusive. So that's going to include the crew, so at least a private chef and a captain, sometimes more, the bigger the boat. It's going to, include all of their food, their alcohol, their docking fees, taxes, literally everything. So the only extra cost that the client is going to incur on an all-inclusive yacht charter is going to be gratuity at the end. Then when we have plus expenses, so again, that's still going to include the crew and the chef and everything else, but the extras are going to be that VAT tax that we just talked about, as well as that APA, that advanced provisioning that we talked about. So those are kind of the only other two fees. And they're going to vary by yacht, by location, by number of guests, by fuel burn. So it's not a hard, fast rule on the APA, but the VAT will be the same, depending on the country. And then, of course, we have gratuity. So the biggest question people always want to know is how can I get my clients on this below deck experience? Everybody at this point has probably seen at least one episode of Below Deck. So how do we make this happen? And the short answer is every single yacht charter that your client goes on is going to be a version of the Below Deck experience because they're all going to have a private crew. They're going to be catered to, all their favorite foods and drinks, their own agenda, island hopping, leaving, coming and going when they want, their own private selection of water toys. The list goes on. So, if they want to have that experience, definitely they will have it. So why Sanderson Yachting? Who are we? Why do we matter? And why are we the right company for you? I don't know the answer to all of those, but what I can tell you is some of the things that people love about working with us are we never market directly to your clients. Your agency or you personally are always going to retain the full client ownership. You don't need any yacht knowledge. So we spend a lot of time educating travel advisors, both through these ASTA webinars, through partnering with different host agencies, and just, through getting involved in one-on-ones with travel advisors individually. And then we offer a marketing toolkit. So if this is something that you think you want to try out or test the waters for your clientele, we can give you the marketing kit, and it has an email template that you can send out to your clients to see if they're interested, and basically just let them know that you offer yacht charters. And it's got a one pager about yacht charters. It's not branded with my branding. You're welcome to put your branding on there. And then it also includes, some sample social media posts, some images that you can use, again, just to kind of see if it's something your clients are interested in. Commission structure. So we actually pay the highest commissions in the industry, and that's guaranteed. Me being the owner, the CEO of Sanderson Yachting, I have a little bit more flexibility than, maybe a larger brokerage where they've got to kind of cut the pie multiple ways. We actually just split our commission with you 50-50. So, yeah, and we're super transparent about all of that. So a couple of the ways that we make you look like experts without you having to have all of the knowledge that's in my brain, although I will educate you on every time you bring me a charter. I will sit and explain the destination to you, some of the nuances of that destination, what to look for in the yachts and things like that. But in addition to that, everything that we provide you is going to be a white labeled client ready proposal. We're going to give you, like I said, destination guidance, preference sheet management. So we're going to kind of, hold your hand through the entire process with your client. We'll do the pre-charter call together. We'll do the post-charter follow-up. So again, we kind of equip you with everything you need. So how do you get started? So all I really need from you is the destination, the travel dates, the guest details, and I don't mean their names, I just mean the makeup of the group. So are they gonna, are they a bunch of couples? Are they a family? Do they need twin cabins? So those are the types of things that we're gonna need to know. Budget, of course, because like you just saw, there's options ranging from about 20,000 to over 1 million. So having a little bit of an idea of budget is always super helpful. And then, for some of those higher end clients, what amenities do they want? Do they want jacuzzis and saunas and specific water toys? Once the budget is up 75, 100,000, we can start kind of talking about some of these other amenities. So we covered a lot so far. We've gone through misconceptions, destinations, types of yachts, pricing, the booking process. Yeah, I guess that's kind of everything that I had planned for today. So I'll kind of pause there and take a look at some of the questions. And yeah, if you guys want to pop questions, or I don't know if you can unmute yourselves and ask them, but
Thanks, Erin. We did have one question, and if anybody else has any, put them in the chat. We'll get them touched on. But she's always wondered why there's no mini cruises in Greece.
yeah, great question. So there actually are a few, but they're more so old ships that are grandfathered in that they've turned into private yachts. So there's one called Elysium. There's another one called Harmony V. They're nowhere near as luxurious as the ones that are in Croatia, but they do exist. So they are there. The price points are definitely higher, but and many less.
Yeah,
Any
that's
other?
a
Okay.
no. I was gonna say that's a good opportunity, although too bad they can't figure it out and get them updated.
Yeah, I know. It is kind of a bummer. We have a lot of people that do it in Croatia and then they're like, we want to do it in Greece. It's like, well, there's only really, three options and none of them are anything like what you had in the experience in Croatia. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
you don't, great question, Samantha. So Samantha's asking, do we have to sign up as an agency or do we just contact Erin to get info? So to start, you would just contact me to get info. And then if you are actually going to do a booking, then we'll get you set up. I can pay advisors direct commissions directly, unless I have a relationship with your host agency, in which case I would have to pay your host agency directly. So it really just depends on where your affiliation is.
Are the prices both net and commissionable?
So all the prices that I'm going to give you have commission built in. And that's a really great question that we get a lot. So there are very few instances where we can provide net pricing. And the reason is because all of the pricing in this industry, because it's highly regulated, is all published online. So your clients can find that same yacht with that same name in 100, 200, 300 different websites. So if you're giving them a different price than what's online, you're going to probably run into issues and lose credibility pretty quickly. So that's kind of the only downside of private yacht charters is very few are which is why people love doing the mini cruisers because you can mark those up as much as you want because you're selling it by the cabin.
Uh-huh. Now, do you see the client type of client that would be doing this price shopping on different websites, or are they the type that I like to work with where they're not going to necessarily be price shopping?
Look, we all love a client that doesn't price shop, right? The reality is all the pricing is the same. So when we have our private clients and even when I work with advisors, I always encourage, well, I always tell my clients, but I encourage advisors to tell their clients, look, we have access to every single yacht available for charter across the world. So, if you see something else online, let me know and I'm happy to get you the info. But, the more of those shiny ads you click on Facebook with private yachts, because as soon as you inquire about one, you're going to start getting a million ads in your feed. You're just going to get a ton of calls and emails, and we all have access to the same inventory.
Yep.
So, but
Awesome.
yeah, it's the downside of everything being public, right?
Yeah, right. Double-edged swords, but
Yes.
I don't see any other questions coming in.
Okay.
Um, so thank you all very much for joining. If you're watching this recording, feel free to reach out to Erin if you have any other questions. Check out Sanderson Yachting for when your clients are ready to do a charter or even when you're ready to upsell them to that experience because they're tired of their same old type of vacation.
Awesome. Thanks again for having me, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome.
Take care.
Enjoy the days.
Thanks. All right. Bye.